Good afternoon, everybody. It's Effective Resume Thursdays. Very glad you're with us. It's September 3rd, 2020. Let's see here. Here we go. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on the Facebook page. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. For those people who are on Zoom, you have a couple different options. You can take a speaker view or the gallery view. The speaker view is in the lower left-hand corner down there where you see the red arrow. And where you see that red arrow, there's a couple little white lines between the picture and the slide. You can grab that and slide that back and forth and make the speaker bigger or smaller. You can change the ratio if you're on a PC or Mac. For those people on Zoom, if you have a question, please use the chat box. We will be using the chat box during this presentation as we ask questions, as Carol asks questions to you. And for those people on Facebook, if you will, just enter your question in the comment box, and I am monitoring that feed and we'll make sure those questions get answered. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started Career USA to help people outside the DFW area. Since 2007, I facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And since 2007, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach. Carol, thank you for being with us and take it away. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I'll unmute first and then try to share my screen. I think I need to be enabled to share my screen.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, let's see here.
That's a trick that Zoom always plays on us every week.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, I'll share my screen, get in presentation mode. Slideshow mode. Can you see it okay?
Good to go.
Right. Looks like we've got a great audience out here today, and so welcome to everyone. I really appreciate and acknowledge all of you taking your valuable time to attend this webinar, and we've designed it to be fun and interactive and informative. So don't multitask, put your full focus forward, because we're going to be asking questions and give you a chance to ask questions so that you can get a lot out of it. And we've got a great session planned for today. And as Jeff mentioned, we'll be using the interactive features of Zoom. So if the first thing you could do is please click on the participant box. If you hover over the lower part of your screen and click on the participant box for Zoom, and then give me a green check mark once you're in the participant box, or a red X, or green check mark if you can hear my voice and see the screen. I'll make sure everybody can hear and see okay. Good, seeing lots of green check marks out there. Good if everyone could get out there. Good. And then we will also be using the chat function. So if you could click on the chat feature, the chat button. Sometimes I have to do this a couple of times to get it to work myself, because I have two screens open up, and if you see me looking this way, I'm just looking at my second monitor. There we go. I'm going to drag it down so I can monitor the chat there. So to get us warmed up, I do have an opening question, because the theme for today, based on questions I've gotten over the last couple of weeks, is one-page executive bios as an alternative to resumes. So I'd like for everyone to go into chat and answer this question, yes or no. Have you ever created a one-page executive biography for yourself? And if so, where and how did you use it? I'm getting lots of no's, which is fine. Not everybody creates one. And I am finding people at leadership levels and above are starting to find value in them, especially for networking meetings, because it's a document that doesn't scream, I'm looking for a job, like a resume. It looks like, okay, I'm looking for a job. Do you have a job for me? When you want to just reach out to somebody, build a relationship, get their feedback about your career, and hopefully get a few contact names. You don't want to scream that you're looking for a job. And somebody said they tried to, but never completed it. Well, good news for you today. I'm going to share a really simple template that I bet you can complete in 15 minutes. And in fact, I did that myself. Okay. And then somebody created one as a leave behind after an informational interview or informational meeting. Perfect example of when to use it. And yes, somebody else has used one for an initial meeting with some new contacts. Excellent. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay. And by way of background, this is my background, and I see some familiar names out there and some people I haven't met. If you could do me a favor, also in the participant box, give me a green check mark if you've attended one of these Thursday resume sessions before. And if you've never attended one of these Thursday resume sessions, give me a red X so I know the audience. So we have some returning people. Welcome back. And we have some new people. Good. We've designed this for both audiences. There are certain things we try to review, but we present them differently each time. And then every week I bring in new content or bring back some favorite content. So we vary it every week. And this week we're focusing on the additional content we're adding as the executive bio. And so some people have heard my background before, but I'll go ahead and share it briefly. I have over 30 years of experience as a hiring manager. I worked for EDS that was acquired by Hewlett Packard in 2008. And then I retired from there in 2012. And I felt a calling to get a job as a recruiter because I knew so many people that had been laid off. And I just really wanted to learn how the recruiting market works. And it worked out beautifully because I wanted to get that experience for several years before I ultimately retired and became a career coach, which is what I'm doing now. And so I did work as in the agency recruiting environments and corporate recruiting. And I've placed people in a variety of roles: HR, accounting, finance, project management, sales, administrative, a variety of different roles. And like Jeff, I serve as a volunteer for the Dallas Pit Crew, which is the practice interview team, where we do practice interviews with people. And we encourage you to spend a little bit of time on your resume, but also spend some good time on practicing your interview skills, because the interview is what's going to get you the job. And Jeff, thank you for posting the Pit Crew information in the chat box so that you can download that. If you want to sign up for a practice interview, all you have to do is send an email with your resume and a target job description, and then we'll put together a panel and put you through a practice interview and give you some valuable coaching. And then I've been certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. That's my background. And also, since I've been a recruiter, I recently retired from Next Step Recruiting, but I keep close in touch with them, and I do webinars for their candidates on various topics. And I keep in touch regarding their hot jobs, and I occasionally help them find good candidates. And right now, here's a sampling of some of their hot jobs: a financial analyst position, senior accountant positions, a credit collections manager position. These are few and far between, but if you have that background, there's a great opening for you. Corporate tax manager, and then a senior budget analyst position over in Fort Worth. They're looking for somebody just knowledgeable in accounting, but also has the ability of reviewing budgets with departments. So if you have a good financial acumen, but also the ability to work with business leaders, that could be a fun role if you don't mind going to Fort Worth, or if you live near Fort Worth. So if you meet the requirements for any of these positions, please contact me on LinkedIn, and I can get you connected with the right recruiter. And they're also looking for people in HR, like HR generalist positions and sometimes HR manager positions, and then also IT positions, especially programmers and maybe team leaders and business analysts. So if you meet any of these requirements or want to get introduced to a recruiter at Next Step Recruiting, feel free to reach out to me. And here's our agenda today. It's a two-part session. The first part will cover some content. The second part will review some sample resumes. And what I'm finding with these workshops is that I'm hearing from people earlier and earlier in the week where they send me the resume because they want to get it shown during the session. And so we already have 2 resumes that have been submitted this week. So we're already full up. But if we don't get a chance to review your resume, you're welcome to follow up with me offline on LinkedIn.
We did have somebody else send it to me in the chat box, but I told them that we're already full for today, so.
Yes, and I downloaded that one, I think. And also somebody shared a professional biography too.
That's sort of a comedy thing, so that's not,
Yeah, the Yosemite Sam biography, which is an example of a 1-page executive bio. So if you wanted to review your resume, you're welcome to follow up with me offline. And then we'll talk about, I have a few slides about 1-page executive bios and a template to share. And we'll also review key components of a resume, and then we'll go into the review of the sample resumes. I'm looking to see, we've got a good group today, pretty large group today. Good. So, excuse me. Oops. First, a word about applicant tracking systems. This is something we review every week just because it's such a hot topic and of great interest to people. Basically, that's the system you use when you're applying for a job online and you're uploading your resume into the applicant tracking system, where it reads the data from your resume and it parses the data and puts things like your name, dates, job titles into their database. And so you don't want to use any special characters or formatting for the version you upload into the ATS system. Things like even underlines can mess up the text reading. And don't use this header or footer situation or place in a Word document because the data won't get read. And don't use any boxes or special formatting of bullets. You can use the default, that's fine. And when you're uploading into an applicant tracking system, you do want to spend time to make sure the keywords in your resume align to the language in the job description. We'll show some examples of how to do that. And then there's a tool, an online tool called jobscan.co, and it is CO. And that's a tool you can use to just test out your resume against a sample job description and see how good of a match you are, to see if you need to tweak the language a little bit. And then often the applicant tracking systems give you the option of also uploading a resume as an attachment. And that's the document that resumes or that recruiters will be clicking on to review. So you can upload the same clean version, or if you want a version that has a little bit more either shading or boxes or underlines, you could do that if you want to maintain 2 different versions of your resume. And then also you're often given the option to upload a cover letter too, where you can describe how your experience matches the requirements of the job. And we've got a couple of templates for those. And then even though we do spend a lot of time kind of studying these ATS systems, each system is different. Taleo, iCIMS, the ATS part of Workday, they're all different. And each company can implement them differently. So they all work differently. So you do have to kind of step back and keep the big picture in mind. Just, simply upload a resume that has no special formatting and review the data. Once you've uploaded it, you can often go in and review to make sure your data went to the right place. And if you have letters after your name, like PMP or MBA, it'll probably load that as part of your name. And so you may want to clean that up. It may say, last name, comma, and PMP, and you may want to clean that up. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you apply online, also you need to contact a person because, and I've asked this question before, but I want to ask it again. On a scale of 1 to 100, what do you think the chances are that you'll get called for an interview if you apply online? On a scale of 1 to 100, go into chat, type in a number. What do you think the chances are that you'll get called to come in for an interview if you don't do anything else but just apply online? We're getting a range of numbers, everything from 1 to 2 to 20 to 40%. Based on my experience, I used to say the number was less than 5%. And I just read an article in Forbes magazine, the number is 2%. So it's a very small chance. So what I'm telling people now, especially during the pandemic, when it's a little more competitive, you have to take an extra step in order to get an interview. So you have to contact a person as well. And I recommend picking up the phone and saying, hi, I'm Carol. I just applied for your corporate recruiting position. I meet all of the requirements. I have 5 years of experience and I've hired accounting and finance people. I'd be happy to come in for a conversation. Something brief like that that says you have the requirements. As a recruiter or recruiting manager, whenever I got a call like that, I would invite those people in. So be sure to follow up with somebody, either a first or second level LinkedIn connection at the company. Have them be your advocate and send your resume, maybe a cover letter, to the recruiter who posted the job if they can figure out who it is, or to the recruiting manager of that organization. And then your chances will go up to 50%. If you are referred within the company, the chances, and you meet the requirements, the chances are closer to 50% that you'll get called for an interview. So it's worth spending just a few minutes reaching out to somebody. If you don't have any connections at the company, then try reaching out to the recruiter who posted the job. Sometimes you can see the name on LinkedIn if they allow their name to be shared, or if not, do a little bit of research and see if you can find the name of a leader of their recruiting or talent acquisition organization and reach out to them. Don't reach out to just any random recruiter because they're probably flooded with other job requests. So go up a level and reach out to the manager, and they'll get your resume to the right place, especially if you meet the requirements. They're incented to fill that job. So at any point, if you have any questions or comments or observations about anything that we're talking about, feel free to go into chat, and I'm monitoring the chat box over here. And we'll talk about one-page executive biographies for a second. And Mina Brown, Jeff was told me about this particular book. And Jeff, is it available on Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon. My understanding is if you happen to have Amazon Prime, or if you have the Kindle Prime version, apparently it's free, I think. When I looked it up a couple days ago, if you want to buy the book, it's like 17 bucks or something like that. But you want to make sure that you get the second edition, which is the one with the little white lines on it. You'll see right underneath the name, it says second edition, because the second edition's got like 30 or 40 bios in the back of it, where the first edition only had a couple. They really didn't, when they wrote the book originally 7, 8 years ago, the bio wasn't as important, but now they realize how important it is.
Great, yes. And that is how I accessed it. I got it for free through Amazon Prime Kindle, so I was able to download it. Great. So this is a good book regarding interviewing, and it does have a chapter about executive bios. And here's an image on the screen of Mina Brown's own executive bio. And you can see it looks like a different document than a resume. It's not a chronological format of all the jobs that she's had. So it's a different type of document. And here is a table that kind of compares and contrasts the difference between a resume and a one-page executive bio. A resume, as I mentioned before, it signals that you're looking for a job. I want a job. Whereas a bio can be used in many situations, and it's a little softer. And somebody's asking the question, can we share this template that I mentioned? Yeah, I'll show it in a slide in just a moment, and then we will share it in chat as well. I want to explain a little bit about the one template that I have. And then, so thank you for asking about that. And then also a resume really focuses on your work history and details, whereas a bio focuses on your major career accomplishments and your overall expertise. And resumes are used as a job search tool, but bios can be used for multiple purposes. And if people could go into chat, when do you think you might use a one-page executive bio? What types of meetings or in what types of situations might you use a one-page executive bio? Go into chat and type in a few words of when you might want to use a document like this. And then resumes are really used by everyone, and bios primarily for senior level people or executives, but I'm starting to see Managers and other professionals use them as well. And somebody mentioned it could be used in an RFP. That's correct. When you're responding to a request for a proposal, you used to have to submit a one-page bio for especially government contracts. Yes. So if anybody else has other ideas about when you would use a one-page executive bio, and then C-suite executive level presentations, absolutely, if you're a guest speaker, or a quick introduction to executives.
My thought is you use an executive bio until you have a detailed job description so you can customize your resume. Until that
there you
time,
go.
don't send out a generic resume unless you have a job description. So the thing you send out is this executive bio.
Yeah, because otherwise it locks you into that description. It may not match that job. And Jeff, what do you think? You always do a session every Tuesday on LinkedIn. What's your recommendation for LinkedIn? Should you post your resume or should you?
Never post a resume on LinkedIn because once again, you haven't customized it, but you would want to post your one-page bio because that tells somebody who you are, what you can do. And, you know, if they read it and go, oh, I'm looking for somebody who can do these things, then they'll call you up and then you find out the job description and then you send a customized resume.
Great, that's clear. And then somebody, as you were talking, was typing in that exact comment that, so you're right on the button. And then somebody said they use them for informational interviews. You know, for example, if you want to, you know, get a job at Amazon, but you're not sure which job to apply to, or there's not really an opening, but somebody maybe has gotten you in touch with the leader or the recruiting manager at Amazon, you could use the one-page bio when you set up that quick, 15-minute meeting just to get their advice regarding your career. You could share this with them just as an introduction.
I know if I'm going to have an information interview with somebody or somebody contacts me and they want to meet me, somebody back when we were meeting in person, I would have appreciated getting something like this before the meeting that I could bring with me because number one, I know what the person then looks like if I don't have my laptop or, don't look them up on LinkedIn to see what their picture's like. So, this is a nice tool even to give before the information interview if you're going to set up a meeting.
Right. Yes, you could send it ahead of time. And nowadays that's really easy because most meetings are virtual and everybody's on email. And then somebody asked a great question. What about if you would like to work in a particular department that doesn't have a job opening? That's a perfect opportunity of when to do an informational interview and either reach out to that person or maybe have somebody who might know, maybe that department head, or again, then maybe the leader of recruiting, because a lot of leaders of recruiting keep resumes in their pipeline just in case an opening does come up. So that is the opportunity to reach out to somebody. And again, don't say, I'm looking for a job. Do you have a job for me? Reach out and say, you were highly recommended to me and I'd really appreciate your advice and your feedback. So would you be open to a 15-minute discussion about my career and I'm interested in your advice? And that's the type of meeting you could set up just for information. If anybody else has any advice on informational meetings like that, feel free to type those into chat. So this template that I'm showing right here just happens to be one example that one of my clients has used. And as I do career coaching and I help people with their resumes and job search strategies, one of my clients said, Carol, somebody shared this template with me. It's real simple. It's just Microsoft Word. You don't have to use Acrobat or anything fancy to do it. And he's used it extensively. So I just plugged in some of my information into this format so I could share it with you as an example. But it basically, just has a picture. I think it's okay to have a picture on an executive bio, not on a resume, because that can cause some employment law issues but for job searching. But for executive bios, kind of like your LinkedIn profile, it's okay to have a picture with a few key areas of expertise at the top, a short paragraph about your background, and then here's your professional biography, the jobs you've had, maybe the most recent 5 or 6 jobs that you've had and the years, your education and any certifications, contact information right up here on top, including your LinkedIn URL, your modified LinkedIn URL, and then professional achievements. And this is where you want to try to be quantitative where possible, or show track records of meeting targets and dollar amounts, accomplishments where you can across major categories that may be applicable to the types of positions that you're looking for. So we will be sharing this in the chat box, and you're welcome to take this and leverage it. I've shared this with several clients, and they've started using it as they've found themselves in a job search situation and needed to reach out to people immediately.
And just, I've seen some bios that actually include target companies if you're sending this out to like contacts, but please make sure that if you send one that does have target companies listed, that if you send it to somebody at a company, make sure it's the first target, make sure it's the #1 company on that list. You know, don't
Yeah,
have
if it's
them
number 10, it doesn't look as good.
don't have them 5 or 6, don't even, or forget to include them in the first place.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad. So, yeah, or that could go in a cover letter or something too. Yes, or just say you're my target in my target company. This is where I want to work. Yeah, so good. So hopefully that's useful, because I've done a lot of searching for templates for executive bios, and I really haven't found any that are easy to use, that are formatted in kind of a fun way. If anybody has any other examples, feel free to share them with me if you'd like, because I do like to share examples and then share them with other people. So, okay. If anybody has any comments, please let us know.
Oh, there is, Minna Brown did do a presentation to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. So if you want to see a 1-hour presentation, you can go to the Career USA YouTube channel, look under the North Dallas Plano Career Group speakers list, and you'll find one of them about a month and a half ago that has Minna Brown one-page bio listed. And her presentation starts about 30 minutes into the video, but you'll be able to see her 1-hour presentation.
Great, thank you for that. That's a good follow-up resource for people. Excellent. And now we'll talk about actual resumes. So here are some characteristics of good resumes. The overall goal is you want to make it easy for the ATS system to see that you're a great match for the job. Write for the machine, you know, use the exact language that they use, and don't put a whole bunch of words together with slash marks and no spaces, because they won't be able to read that. So write for the machine. And then also write for the screeners, the recruiters and hiring managers that may be looking at your resume. You want to make it easy for them to see that you're a good match for the job. So you want the formatting to be clean. You want the font to be a clean font like Calibri 11, not too small, not too fancy, not too many varied fonts. Sometimes I've seen resumes with 3 or 4 fonts. So you want it clean, and you want the overall length to be approximately 2 pages. That seems to be the preferred number for most situations. There are exceptions like the government or higher education where longer resumes can be appropriate. And then we have a little polling question to ask. I'm interested to know, how many years of experience do you show on your resume, especially for those of us that have a lot of experience? Like I have 40 years of experience. Should I show all my experience, or just the most recent 10 years, or show, you know, focus on the most recent 10 to 15 years and then show prior relevant experience? And so people are already answering the polling question. This is great. In terms of showing all your experience, when I was looking at a job and at the age of 60, I showed everything on my resume. It went from 1980 on, but I was networking with people that knew me and knew my whole background. So it was fine. It worked for me. I don't know if I'd recommend that for everyone. And then I've seen a lot of resumes as a recruiter that are chopped off after 10 years or 15 of the most recent years, and they look chopped off. And they've caused confusion in interviews. When I ask a question, you know, tell me about a time that you had to implement some certain type of system, like an ERP system. And they mention a company, and I look at the resume and it's not there, it causes confusion. So it's, for me, from a recruiter perspective, I always appreciated it when people show details about their most recent jobs, and then had a section that said prior relevant experience and listed the company names and titles. They didn't have to put the dates there if they didn't want it, but at least it shows the full picture. And when I would present the resume to the hiring manager felt like he got more of the whole truth. Because it almost looks like you're hiding something if you chop it off. Any comments or questions about that? And it looks like a majority of people do like that third option. Yeah, okay, good. And now we'll talk about key components of a resume. And for today's discussion and the version we'll be sharing with you today, it's based on a format that I developed based on feedback I was getting from hiring managers when I worked as a recruiter and was presenting dozens and dozens of resumes to hiring managers. And then also it's similar to the version one of the versions they teach in the career transition workshops here in the DFW area. And also it's very similar to the version that I was taught when I went through my certification program as a career coach. And so we'll talk about key components of a resume. You might have other components as well, but these are the key components that we'll be talking about. The heading, the summary, an optional key accomplishments section, your professional experience, and the prior relevant experience if you want to include that. And then education and software. Heading, you want it to be really clean, have your name stand out. And so that you use up less lines, I recommend having just 2 lines for your contact information on either side of the page. Gives you a couple more extra lines, and that space is valuable at the top of your resume. And you do not need, in fact, it's not recommended to include your physical street address. I keep looking over here to monitor the chat box. If you have any questions, you're welcome to chime in, questions or comments. And then the next part is really my favorite, and this is the section that I spend the most time with people when I'm coaching people on their resumes, because this needs to be modified every time you apply for a job so that you match the language of the job description and the keywords. So the opening paragraph should describe who you are as a professional using that language of a job description. Now you don't want to copy and paste, but leverage some of the key words, the words that they're using. And I say can be modified for each application. I should say should be modified or highly recommended to be modified for each application. And then it's important to have an areas of expertise where you list key areas or key skills that you have that apply to that job. And the magic number here is 9. And don't put them into a box or a table because the ATS system may not read them. And question from Susan, who's an executive coach. What if you are willing to relocate and your resume has a current city? Will that hurt your chances? How do you say you're willing to relocate? Or yeah, where do you say that? You could just say open to relocate. If you're really open, location open, no relo required. That's usually the first question that a recruiter might ask if you need relo assistance, because if you say open to relocation, they still may not call you because they think, oh, you're going to ask for a moving van and help selling a house and everything, and that could add into a lot of money. So you could put that up top. Yeah, you could just say location open, no relo assistance required.
I like that. I think that would right then, that would work.
Yeah. So you could do that anywhere in USA. Okay. And if anybody else has any suggestions or experiences with that, let me know. And I do find, though, recruiters and hiring managers tend to like to talk to people that are already local, just because they think, oh, they can start quicker. So that's.
I do like the next question. Should you use the title from the job description? Yes,
if it aligns to your experience and you've had that title in the past, it would make sense to use that title in the very top of your resume. And you do have to be a little careful about it. One time I was coaching somebody who had a detailed technical sales background, software sales, and he wanted to change careers and become a technical recruiter, but he'd never been a technical recruiter. The top of his resume said technical recruiter, but nothing on there aligned to that. So it looked like he was fibbing, lying. So we just wrote technical professional, and then in the summary, IT manager experienced in conducting interviews, screening candidates. So we made a more gentle alignment with that job title.
Right, and there's another question here. I live in Bedford, not a commonly recognized city. Should I put Dallas-Fort Worth area, Texas 7576021? I would just say Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas 76052. You don't have to say area, just put down Dallas-Fort Worth.
Perfect. That's exactly what I would do as well. And that's a good thing to do. Okay. And the next section under your areas of expertise that's optional, it's totally up to you, is a key accomplishments section. And I've seen this used the most very effectively for people that are applying for sales jobs, business development, and even recruiting and finance jobs, especially where you're held accountable to targets and you want to show a track record of meeting, certain quantifiable results. And you can show key accomplishments over a variety of jobs that you've had, kind of summarize them in just a few bullets. So that's an optional area. And then professional experience, you want to make sure this section of your resume is very clean, easy to read, with the dates for the length of time you're at that company, right, justified. And you want to make sure your verbs are parallel. Like, for example, this one in the past tense, past job, everything should be ending in ED in the past tense. And my recruiting buddies and I recommend limiting the number of bullets to maybe 5 to 8 bullets per job. Don't put 15 or 20 bullets. The hiring manager will never read those. In fact, may not read any of them because there's so many. And the bullets should focus on results. It shouldn't read like a job description. And you might ask, how do I do that? And the way I do that when I'm coaching people is to ask the question, so what? I didn't include the slide last week and somebody mentioned it, so I thought, well, I'll include the slide again. And this is a real example where somebody had a bullet point in their professional experience, and I asked them, so what? What was the result? The original bullet was that they developed a Visual Basic program to automate the conversion migration of data. And that's kind of cool, but I said, so what? What was the impact? And they had an answer to that question. So that told me there was a result. And so it really resulted in reducing the data migration time, eliminated errors, and increased stakeholder confidence. So he enhanced that bullet point by focusing on the result first. So the first verb, rather than developing a Visual Basic program, is reduced the data migration time and then eliminated errors and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So that's an easy way that you can go through your resume and try to identify some of the bullets that could be converted like this and focus on results. And another common question is, what if you have multiple roles within one company? And what we recommend here is for the company, put the whole length of time, the full years, 2004 to 2012 that you were at that company in this particular example. And then for each job, put those dates in parentheses, but don't write justify those dates. Put them there. And that makes your resume look stronger. I see a lot of resumes where people write justify all those dates for those jobs, and it looks like they were a job hopper. But if you do it this way, it looks like, oh, they had longevity at that company. It looks like they were promoted. And so that tells a good story. And then if you work for a company that's been acquired or merged, changed names, here are a couple of options of how to handle that. One is to give the current name of the company followed by the old name, or the old name with the name of the acquisition. And in my case, when I retired from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Services in 2012, I wrote Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, on my resume. Or the other option is I could have said, if people maybe knew EDS more, I could have said EDS acquired by Hewlett-Packard in 2008, which is the time that was acquired. So there are a couple different options there, depending on maybe what's the most recognizable name. And then you want to be sure to include your education and maybe certifications if you have those. And it is important to list your software skills, especially if they list a few in the job description, including Microsoft Excel. If they have it in the job description, put it in your resume. And we are sharing the sample resume template in the chat box, and also a sample easy cover letter as well. And this is one of my favorite slides to show, and I'm going to use the annotate function with that nice circle function. And what this slide is illustrating is that before you apply online or apply for a job, you want to analyze the job description and just spend a few minutes. I've had some clients say they didn't want to do it because they were afraid it would take too long, like hours and hours. I say, just spend 15 minutes then. It should take just a few minutes to actually read the job description or print it off and highlight the key words that are important. And this job description is for a business analyst role. And you can see that documentation of business requirements is an important skill. So you want to be sure to include that in your resume. And they're also looking for somebody that can improve processes. So you want to make sure you've included that. And when you've included a skill, it's always good to include it also in your professional experience where you've done that skill as well. And in this situation, there are a couple of methodologies and software that are important. So methodology, Agile is an area of expertise. And software, they're looking for Visual Studio. So take just a few minutes, and that will increase your chances of your resume getting put to the top of the list in the applicant tracking system. So the recruiter's a little more likely to see you. And then to really get noticed, make a phone call. Good. So now at this time, I'll pause for any questions or comments, overall comments that people have. And I'll go ahead and share our first sample resume.
It's just while you're doing that, you can, go ahead. One of the things that I've noticed over the years is sometimes people will say, well, should I list Microsoft Office? Well, quite frankly, everybody has Microsoft Office skills. You better, otherwise you really can't be in business anymore. So I would not list them unless they're on the job description. So if you see them on the job description, add them to your skill section. If they're not on the job description, I would leave it off and list other things that are more important.
Yes, great. Yeah, use that valuable real estate on your resume. And so here's our first example, and this is an example of how you can submit your resume for this workshop. We can just make it very generic at the top so that you can remain anonymous. And this was submitted in Microsoft Word version. And the first thing I notice is maybe because my formatting is set up a little differently, things are wrapping around. So it may not look exactly the way you intended. So when you are submitting your resume to, especially to recruiters or your online version, when you're uploading that resume attachment, PDF is recommended. Now for the ATS version, I've gotten mixed information depending on the system. Sometimes Workday doesn't read PDFs very well. So just be a little careful with that. But for the version that you're submitting that people will look at, then PDF is better to protect your formatting. And somebody said, what about Visio Access Project? All part of MS Office, but not everyone has these skills. Again, if it's required, if it's in the job description, you want to include those for sure. And I would, go ahead.
I would say, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. You don't need to list those three things unless they're on the job description. But yes, something like Access, Visio, that is a little bit more. And yes, I would definitely list those.
Yeah, and it shows that you're technically savvy and that you can use a variety of tools to show data and stuff. So that shows. I like to see those things. Good. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to spend about 5 to 10 seconds scrolling down this resume and let everyone look at it. And I'd like for everyone to go into chat and type in a few keywords about things you like, or if you see something that you recommend be changed, To enhance it, feel free to type those into chat. So I'll scroll it down. Here's the top section, summary section. Here's the professional experience. Don't worry about the formatting or kind of wrapped around. That might be just the fact that it was Microsoft Word. Okay. Somebody put in a longer question. We may not get to that during the call. Okay. At the end, we'll try to get to that if we have time. Okay. So I'm scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling onto page 3 and education. So if you have comments about what you like about the resume, it's a nice kind of clean format. Somebody wrote extra space between for and windows. Windows should be capitalized. Yes, be careful. I'm Googling all the time to make sure that the name of the software package is the actual name, like PowerPoint has 2 capital P's, you know, that type of thing. You want to make sure, because otherwise it makes people wonder, did they really use it? Good, okay. All right. And then somebody said, easy to read, good white space. Connectivity looks misspelled. Yes, you want to make sure there are no errors. Otherwise, that's the first thing the recruiter will mention, and they may not even want to forward your resume to the hiring manager. Must tie work to results to make it more relevant. It shouldn't just read like a list of tasks. Manual's misspelled, so it's definitely spell check or have somebody you trust review your resume for you, or print it off and look at it with a very critical eye. Because I will say, as a recruiter, 95% of the resumes I looked at had some sort of error in them, and that causes issues. Yes, and somebody said a PDF is not recommended when you're uploading into an ATS system because it sees it as a picture. Yes, that's especially true in Workday. Now, when you upload it as an attachment, that's okay, or you're just sending it to somebody. Thank you. Somebody said OneDrive should be capitalized. Absolutely. Double check any software names to make sure you're capitalizing it right. Some of the paragraphs are full justified. Yes, we recommend just left justified. Don't try to full justify it. Should be Microsoft Teams. Okay. Okay, good. And
the other thing I noticed, he's got a header on the second and third page that needs to be removed. I mean,
get read.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, it will have gotten read because this isn't. Oh, sorry, I didn't customize that. I'm not going to scroll down any farther. Sorry, I promised this person I would make their resume anonymous. And okay. Mentions IT security, but don't see much about security in the recent job. Yes. So that's where, you know, if you're saying you're an IT security professional, be sure that your experience shows that. And
I would move some of those skills down into toward the bottom, because those aren't, you know, the certifications that you've got, those kinds of things go down with, you know,
software. Yeah.
And with software certifications. Yes.
Right, right. So that's where you want to really read that job description and see what they're looking for, that they're looking for somebody who can handle complex security issues or whatever those words are. You want to look at the professional skills that they're looking for, put those there. Software, yeah, should go in a separate software package or software section of your resume. And so I do like, I would, for the line with the name of the company and title, I would keep everything in that line bold. This line has the title and the company name and the city bold, but not Texas or the dates. So I would just make everything on that line bold consistently. And this line is handled differently. So that kind of attention to detail is important. And bullets should really only be 1 line to 2 at the very most. and should focus on the result. Working in the city of Dallas for deployment project over PC Windows, migration. I would ask, okay, so what was the result of that project? You know, implemented or deployed over 2,000 PCs for the city of Dallas success or something. Just make it a headline about what you accomplished. Okay, so I'm not going to scroll down any more further just to protect the anonymity. Okay, if that's the right word. So thank you very much for sharing your resume. And then if you have any follow-up questions to the person who shared this, feel free to reach out to me, and we can chat a little more as needed. And I have a second one. And I give permission for this person to share their name. Okay. Okay. And so I'm going to scroll down this resume as well. So it has a summary, areas of expertise, experience, dates right justified, and then a section called projects. I'm interested from people to see if you would recommend that or not in a resume. In fact, let's do something fun. And everybody go into the participant box and vote green check mark yes or red X no whether this section called projects should be included in a resume or not in education. And this resume is only 2 pages. So for this resume, do you like that? Green check mark if yes, red X if no. I'd like to have everyone go into the participant box. And we're getting kind of a mixed bag, a few more red X's, yes. What I would do with that is if you have some amazing projects that had amazing results, I would pick the top 3 or 4 and write that headline. Like if you, this is responsible for standing up a helicopter blade, looking for one that's a result. Well, first I would focus on what is the result? What is the headline? And put that under maybe major accomplishments and put that at the top of your resume. Because these projects, it kind of confuses me as a recruiter. I'm like, okay, where did you do those? And why aren't they listed in your professional experience? So, I think it causes a little bit of confusion. And somebody said, retitle the key accomplishments. Yes, and focus on the top 3 or 4 and make them a true accomplishments, like you implemented or you saved the company or you deployed something, you know, make it a very meaningful accomplishment that aligns to the type of jobs that you're applying to. And the other thing I was wondering at the very top of the resume, I don't know what you're applying to. It just says summary, it just says analytical, problem solving, and collaborative. But I don't know what kind of person you are or what kind of jobs you're looking for. So, and this is, you definitely want to modify it every time you're applying for a job. If you apply for an accountant job and you've been an accountant, I would put accountant up top, even though I think I saw your degree was finance. Make sure this is clear about who you are using words. And it does seem short. Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing. This should be at least 2 lines, probably 3 lines. Area of expertise. This is good in terms of the number. Again, the software things like Excel, QuickBooks, I put those down in a software section and have these focus more on professional skills like financial analysis aligned to the job. And then somebody said supply chain. Yeah, that is very broad. What does that mean? Yeah, are you a supply chain ERP expert or functional expert or what? Yeah, supply chain experience.
Also, somebody happened to mention about his email address. It says,
Yes.
I would, do away with the alumni.rice.edu and get a Gmail account like everybody else.
Yes.
Or a Rocket Mail or an Outlook or a whatever other kind of email. Don't tie that to your I'm sure you're proud to be a Rice alumni, but you never know. You could be being interviewed by somebody who doesn't like Rice, and you'd immediately be thrown out.
Yeah, that could be true. And it's important to use some of the more current professional emails like gmail.com as opposed to maybe Rocket Mail or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
If you happen to have an AOL account, that tells people you're OLD.
And Jeff, my 93-year-old dad has an AOL account. He still uses it. He's sharp as a tack.
That's fine. He's out looking for a job. So that's,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's see. And then somebody said use the same section headings that were used on job description. Section headings on job description. I don't think so, because in a job description, they might use headings like what you bring to the job or something, and it may not work. So if you have follow-up questions on that, you can follow up with me, and I think I'm out of time. But this is a very overall, very clean resume. I would just make that first line bold. Goes on a little long. Well, no, it doesn't go on too long. Yeah. I would do something about the project section. Education's great. Additional information, software skills, security clearance. That's great. Okay. I might change the font. Calibri is the #1 recommended. Font size 11. Okay.
Carol, thank you very, very much. Great presentation. For those people who are not aware, today is the 20th time we've now done a resume class. So Carol, thank you for the last 20 of them that we've done. For those people on Facebook, if you want the sample cover letter or the sample resume or the sample bio, just send me an email to webmaster@career@fw.org. Tell me what you want, and I will be glad to email those to you. It may not happen today, but I'll definitely get them to you tomorrow or Saturday at the latest. Please join Career at FW and Career USA each week. This Friday, tomorrow morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're going to do 2 different things. We're going to have open forum, meaning that we'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, and we'll get other people to offer feedback in the session. And we're going to have a short presentation on Crystal Knows. Crystal Knows is an artificial intelligence program that you can get, and it looks at somebody's LinkedIn profile. They don't know you've looked at it, but what it will do is it will tell you all about them. So if you're having an interview with somebody, this is an interesting program for you to find out how that person thinks. They ran it on me, and they're going to use me as a demo tomorrow. I agree with about 90% of what this AI showed. It was really pretty amazing. There's only a couple things I disagreed with. So it'll be an interesting presentation tomorrow. I've seen the PowerPoint slides, but join us tomorrow morning and you'll hear more about that. Next Tuesday, our LinkedIn.
Presenting it to everybody tomorrow. I hope you can make it.
Oh, hi, Patty.
Pick Jeff or somebody, you know.
Yeah, Patty's going to present it for us as long as she doesn't melt out in Phoenix. So yeah, Patty, thank you. I didn't realize you were on with us today.
Yeah.
Then this Tuesday, we'll do a LinkedIn presentation. Terry Sullivan will be joining us. And then on Wednesday, we'll be on session number 6 of our interviewing classes, interviewing opening and closing. So what we've done is lessons 1 through 5 was preparation for the interview. The next 5 lessons will be all about the actual interview and what you need to be doing during the interview. All these sessions are being recorded, have been recorded, will be on the Career at FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel. I hope that you'll please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and when we post things, you'll find out about it. The Career USA, today's presentation will be up later this afternoon, maybe around dinner time. And on YouTube, this is what it looks like if you click on playlist. So it's the Career USA YouTube channel. You click on playlist and up will come the different playlists that have been selected. If you click the little red arrow below it, it will go and show you all the ones, and you can pick the most current one or whichever one you'd like to see. And why is that blank? I don't know. Oh, that's why it's blank. It's blank because this today, just to let everybody know, this is our 100th workshop that we've put on since COVID started, since March 2020. This is Carol's 20th resume session. This is our 100th program that we put on. So thank you very much for being part of it. Please remember, Career FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Carol's a volunteer. Everybody who speaks is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do this. We are here to help you land your next great opportunity. So please consider when you get your next great opportunity to make a donation to help allow Career VFW and Career USA to continue. And if your company happens to offer matching donations, please look us up so your donation can double in value. And if you don't happen to see us on the list, please reach out to me. I will get the name on the list. So Carol, once again, thank you very much. And thanks to everybody for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Carol, don't disappear. Okay, don't disappear. I need to talk to you. Okay. All right.